So now it's my privilege to introduce the legendary Sean Roosen, Chair and CEO of Osisko Development Corp.
Thank you very much, Elian. Well, you guys are getting a lot of me today. I apologize for that. Forward-looking statements, as usual. I will be making as many as I can. It's kind of my thing. In terms of what we're trying to do with the Osisko Group and the evolution, as we just discussed on the panel, we've been operating mostly in Canada, and we've been taking advantage of the flow-through share system here in Canada to build value for shareholders across the space. And we've also been leading the charge in terms of trying to develop a platform that hosts exploration and technology, R&D, and innovation in terms of how to get projects up and going, how to evolve from conceptual in nature to boots on the ground, and then commuting from IQ to NQ, which is a core drilling size. And what we've done is, we've evolved our think tank and our brain trust. Bob Wares was on the panel, Dr. Bob, and a few of the other senior players and the gray hairs like myself who've been doing this since we were in our teens. We really never got out of the sandbox. We've continued to do exactly what we were doing when we were in our 20s, and doing it in a lot of the same ways with a few different toys, some different technologies. And what we're doing with ODV is the evolution of what we did, say at Canadian Malartic, where we went into a brownfield camp. We did a bunch of new science. We consolidated all the historic data. We re-looked at all the old geological models, and we did basic interpretation in terms of what would be a good solution in the current environment, with the current costs, with the current technologies, and the access to capital. So this is where we've been focused right now. Osisko Development, I'll talk about you today. Primary project is in Caribou Gold Project in central BC, just south of Prince George. And our second project is located in Utah, the Tintic project in the Tintic Mountains, 18 previous base metal producers and 5 previous gold producers, as well as a project in Mexico that we're in the process of moving on to another group. So as you see, our jurisdictions within Osisko Development, pretty traditional. Utah being the #1 ranked mining investment jurisdiction worldwide right now by the Fraser Institute. And BC hopefully moving up the ranks. I think their legislative timeline for permitting has been well received. We were the first company to go through this new regulation. So the government was very diligent about sticking to the timelines, and we were 3.5 years was the mandated timeline for the EA certificate, which we achieved with the government. So a shout out to the regulators in BC for having stuck to the legislative timelines. Now we're in the final negotiations to settle up the construction and operating permits, which we expect to finish here in June, July. So that's been a pretty refreshing experience. As we know, BC ranks about mid-20s right now out of the 189 jurisdictions in the world. But we've had very good experience there in the current format. And also located in Tintic, where we've gone underground there. Very straightforward place, and the home of the biggest North America's second biggest open pit, the Bingham pit, and the Bingham smelter. So they're mining friendly jurisdiction with a lot of metal endowment, and we're very happy to be in that jurisdiction as well. Mexico just gone through a new election. We're hoping that the new government is going to be a little bit more forthcoming in terms of granting mining permits, so we'll see how that one cooks off. But our focus will be in the long term and medium term down to BC and to Utah. Our primary project, Caribou Gold Project, this is a project that's quite close and dear to the history of Canada. Started in 1858 with a discovery, and it became the largest discovery after the California 49ers in the mid to late 1800s. Wells and Barkerville became the largest town north of San Francisco for about 30 years, and is the reason that British Columbia was included in the Federation of Canada. The Brits thought there was too many Americans moving into central BC to mine here, so they included BC in the Confederation. So a lot of history here. It's been mining basically for 170 years. We're the next generation of miners. We came into this camp consolidated the project with Eric Sprott back in the day, 2016. We didn't really understand the geological model here, so it was back to science. We did a reinterpretation of this camp and went out and we basically decided that the historical geological model was good for the old timers, but to modernize this project, we had to do what we did in Canadian Malartic, which was focus on going for bulk tonnage. For those of you who can recall Canadian Malartic, we were the first ones to introduce large-scale bulk tonnage mining in Canada in the gold sector back in the day, with 55,000 ton a day throughput and 300,000 tons a day of open pitting in what has historically been a high-grade camp. Similar situation here, except the underground version. We're looking at bulk tonnage at about 4,900 tons a day here, going hopefully to 10 to 15,000 tons in the medium to long term. We started out the resource with a couple million ounces in reserves in this project at 3.78 grams, and then another 1.57 million ounces in the measured and indicated category, and another 1.7 million ounces in the inferred category. And this is all within 1,000 feet or about 350 meters of surface, so it's still very shallow in the deposit. We've drilled it down to about 900 meters, but the speculation is it goes much deeper than that. And we've averaged about 14,000 ounces per vertical meter, about 1.4 million ounces for every 100 meters. So this is an important project in the evolution of the gold business in Canada. A little bit on the timelines. You know, we started with this project in 2016, took it till 2018 to get a geological model that worked. After that, our success rate on drilling went to almost 100%, and we were able to document the resource in the current modern context. So almost all the data that would existed historically in this camp was not included. So everything you see here is Osisko quality drilling with full QA, QC, and we reset the technical work and the technical level of the project, evolving into what we believe is a sub $1,000 AISC, all-in sustaining cost project, and we think it's going to deliver significant value as we evolve this project through phase one, which starts at 4,900 tons a day and about 220,000 ounces a year. An initial project production as we sort of ramp up, and then as we get further into it, averages about 164,000 ounces a year under this study. Hopefully will evolve to a much bigger story as we get underground. In terms of the things we got going for us, this is a Canadian project in British Columbia. We are on BC Hydro grid power, which is clean power because it's all hydroelectric from Site C Dam. We're at about 5 cents US or 6.6 cents kilowatt hour. Extremely important when you go to bulk mining. Bulk mining is an energy equation, and your number one input cost is electrical energy. So that's one of the big advantages that we had taken on in this project, and why we've stuck to the commitment. We've got about $250 million of existing infrastructure, including a fully permitted mill at QR site and on-site infrastructure in terms of housing, camps and offices and underground development work that we've completed. And in terms of our impact on mining here, we're probably going to be about 70 to 80% all electric equipment. So we'll be one of the more ESG friendly projects in the space, and that we believe drives up the investability of the company in this current environment, where ESG scoring is extremely important in terms of allocation of capital. In terms of the partnerships, shout out to our Lataco Dane partners, our Williams Lakes partners, and our Zatzel partners. They've been great and really supportive, and one of the reasons that this project has gone through the permitting era in far less than the 14 years, we're coming up on 4 years in, is because of the support that we've had from our First Nations partners. So that continues to be a big strength within the Osisko team. So we do have a plan in place and a will to build capacity with our First Nations partners, and really to let them lead the way in terms of how we get projects into the investor world, and help us with the perception of the projects, both on a community level as well as a worldwide community level. A bit about the project itself. You can see in red here, these are the zones that are drilled off to what we would call a reserve and a resource level. And the yellow zones represent the extensions at depth. So this is a big project, and it is high-grade vein systems included in what we call a vein corridor, so it's a little more complicated than your average sort of a porphyry deposit, but it is synonymous with a lot of gold systems that we see high-grade veining within a larger context. The big advantage of this project is essentially it's divided into 5 zones. So it acts like 5 small mines within the same project, accessed by one long exploration ramp. So we're going in underground, and we have 481 of these vein corridors, and we believe the mineability here is exceptional and why we can keep our costs below that $1,000 ASIC. A little bit about comparison here. We see the Young-Davidson, the Goldex, and the LaRonde projects on the right. The advantage that we have is the length of strike and the at-depth upside on this project, and also superior grade to a lot of the existing bulk underground mines that we see right now with Young-Davidson at 2.2 and the rest at about 1.75 for Goldex and about 3.7 for LaRonde, which has a significant component almost down to 3,000 meters or 10,000 feet, but a shallower component there as well. So fits in well with what we know about bulk tonnage mines in Canada. This is the overall property. It's about 2,000 square kilometers, showing 83 kilometers of mineralized trends. So this is a mining camp, and we believe that ends up being a mining project in its long run. A bit on Utah. This is 17,000 acres of patented land just outside of Provo, Utah, about an hour and a half south of Salt Lake City, and for the skiers, it's about an hour and 15 minutes from Park City. Historic mining camp with 23 previous producers on it. We're at the beginning of this story. We have a small high-grade resource that we've accessed from a ramp underground, and we're looking forward to getting that small gold resource up and running. However, the reason that we are here is actually for a copper-gold porphyry. We believe this project has the ability to look a lot like Bingham, which is one of the larger porphyries in the world, located at about 40 miles north of us. So within this system, we see the 2 pink areas. Those are big lithocaps that represent a large intrusive underneath us, and we're drill testing that. We're about 2 holes in right now. We're waiting for assays back. We're probably going to put in somewhere between 15 and 20 holes on a vertical basis and fences on this graben structure that's delineated by the 2 faults that you see on the east and the west side on this zone. Bingham is an interesting project to compare to because it produced 57 million ounces of gold, 800 million ounces of silver, and 35 million tons of copper. So if we can find a half of Bingham here, we'll be off to a great start. We have Ivanhoe Electric is in the gray zone. We're in the yellow. They're prospecting, and they're about 150 meters off our border with all their drilling. So they're working with their Typhoon technology. We're mostly on the drill bit and some historic geophysics, and also historic data from mining here. And we have Freeport to the south of us. So it's a very interesting camp to be in between Osisko and the Friedland crew. We plan to bring some pretty intense exploration. So stay tuned. This is a polymetallic camp. This is copper, gold. We also have the CRD deposits, which are silver, lead, zinc with a little bit of a moly kicker. And then we have 5 gold mines here in that eastern flank that you see that we've called the Golden Rectangle, which we're just unwinding now, was historically mined for flux to the Bingham smelter. So that is a big exploration target, Osisko-style historic brownfield camp, and we think that we got the ability to do what we've done in the past, which is to take exploration dollars and turn them into real value and get a critical mass company that's very investable. My history is that we tend to go from $0 to $4 billion. We've done it twice, so we're obviously trying to do better than that this time. So that is our goal, and we believe we have the asset portfolio to make that happen. In terms of what we're doing in the short term, we'll be drilling here from surface on the porphyry targets, as well as some underground work on the gold deposit that we published the MRE of about 150,000 ounces of high grade with 100,000 ounces of inferred on it. So that's continuing to evolve. But the big prize for shareholders will be if we strike one of these Bingham lookalike porphyries in the system, as well as the ongoing evolution of the known deposit that we have in the Caribou Gold Project. So that kind of gets me to the end of our remarks, and we have a more technical presentation available on the website that shows the geological model for those of you who are interested. But I think this offers a good opportunity for a Utah investment, a BC investment, Tier 1 jurisdiction with a team that's been here and done this before. We look forward to serving the shareholders and getting this next leg of the Osisko journey completed as we move forward. And I am down to 2 seconds on my clock, so hopefully this is the last time you have to listen to me today. I wish you luck with all your investments and good luck with the rest of the show.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks.